Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase pricing and availability questions regarding this watch. Today, a throwback, an old school Panerai for the Paneristi. The dyed-in-the-wool folks who were on that website back in the 90s are going to love this Panerai Luminor Marina PAM00177. An unbelievable combination of the traditional Betterini case with titanium. It's lead on the wrist, it's manual wind, it's immensely luminescent, and it's a high-style piece. So right here, we have 44 millimeters in diameter. It's actually thinner than you might think for a Panerai Luminor because it's manual wind, 15 millimeters thick, 53.5 lug-to-lug. It's got a 24 millimeter spacing between the lugs. Throw this one on the wrist, and it's comfortable. With Panerai, the way you judge the size, it's a little bit different from other brands. Other brands, you measure lug-to-lug. With Panerai, you ignore the lugs, you look at the case. So you can see that the case itself is 44 millimeters square, and its edges are well inboard the edge of my wrist. So this fits me. So if your wrist is my size, 16 centimeters circumference or larger, you're going to wear this well. The strap is a lovely Panerai piece, absolutely supple, soft, almost silky. 24 millimeter spacing. You can see that the watches are Italian inspired, but the straps are quite literally made in Italy. We have this large, characteristically Panerai trapezoidal brushed titanium pin buckle to match. And then you can see the case, brushed grade 2 titanium. The Betterini case, something I mentioned earlier, it might not be a familiar term to everyone. There's the 1950 case, which debuted, I want to say around 2002 on the PAM127. That is much more like a historic 6152 combat watch from the 50s, whereas this is a case design created by Alessandro Betterini, who was a genuine employee of the pre-Vendome Panerai company when it was still Italian-owned and operated, and he created the Officine Panerai Luminor and Luminor Marina for launch in 1993, and his approximation of the vintage case looked like this. He would later go on to work for Anebi, which was sort of Panerai after Panerai was bought out, if you will. So this is a very 90s style Panerai case, the kind of thing Sly Stallone would have recognized when he was filming Daylight. So you recognize the design here, and of course, if you are a Paneristi, you probably prefer the screw and bar style of lug junction. Well, you've got that here. The screw and bar setup is very robust. Panerai later started building watches to a much more miserly price point, and so they went with spring bars on some models. This is old school. If you are Paneristi, you already have the right size screwdriver for that screw too. And you can see it's uniform. It's on the buckle as well. No spring bar disasters, and that's not going to pull through. Taking a quick look, you can see we've got the device protecting the crown. Now, the original purpose of this was quite simple. Back when all Panerai combat watches were manual wind, they were coming off 2 decades of using Rolex Oyster cases and Rolex Oyster crowns, because Rolex built those watches. Panerai generally did the dial work and modified them. The problem is, with a relatively short power reserve manual wind watch, you can be threading that crown in and out and in and out and in and out constantly, which wears out the seals. So the solution was a locking system that would decompress and recompress the seal, but not require you to thread through it continuously. So as soon as I release, I'm now able to wind this watch, and the crown is unlocked, so I can easily set it. I can pop that right back down. The cam reapplies the pressure, achieving 300-meter water resistance. And unlike a conventional screw-down crown, which might be out 1/2 turn or 1 turn, you can actually go in the water with a screw-down crown that's not down all the way, and it's hard to notice, whereas this is a hard one to miss. Also, unlike a conventional crown guard, this gives you full aspect protection, so a perpendicular hit's not going to damage. And if your hands are wet, sweaty, or gloved, well, sometimes, a screw-down crown, even a good one, can be tough to grip, whereas here, you can easily lift the lever and then there's no resistance whatsoever. It's ready to go. It's also a design icon. I mean, really, I can do this and you can tell me what brand and what model. Panerai Luminor, you know it. So it is a design icon, and a great one at that. But so is the dial. Now, Luminor historically was a less radioactive paint. Radiomir, which came before it, was also not a watch, but a type of luminescent paint. That was based on radium. That had a half-life of something like 1,600 years. That was bad stuff. So in search of a less lethal loom, Luminor was created. And so what we also have here is a very luminescent dial, albeit with a luminova, which is what these little L's mean, rather than anything radioactive, and a stencil dial, which is a heritage piece for Panerai, where you have a stencil with the indices and the numerals, and then you put that down on a full disc of loom that shines through, creating both a lot of light and a very distinctive loom where the indices and the numerals, they actually have sort of a dynamic sense of depth to them that's unusual. Now, it's a Luminor Marina because it has a seconds hand. A regular Luminor would just be 2 hands. The dial is a matte sort of anthracite. It's somewhere between gray and black, more black than gray, but it's definitely on the spectrum. Turn it all over and we have another Panerai customized version of the long-serving and much-loved Unitas 64972, and it is the Dash 2 because it has the upgrade features, including the 53 to 56 hour power reserve rather than the standard 42 and a 3 Hz beat rate rather than the standard 2.5. It is a movement that is manual wind. It's been adjusted and certified a COSC chronometer, so it is a chronometer certified movement. That was part of what Panerai did to customize these movements and add value. It's big at 36.6 millimeters. It was originally designed with pocket watches, table clocks, and generally large timekeepers in mind, so it's a proper fit for this watch, and it actually looks a lot like you might have seen in a Rolex Codebert or Angelus SF240 powered heritage Panerai combat watch, because those were all powered by manual wind pocket watch calibers. Panerai's made some customization elements. You know, you can see beveling on the bridges, split bridges rather than 3/4. We've got some machine solarization on the crown and ratchet wheel. There's a polished swan's neck, but the fine adjustment is still done primarily using Edicron for beat error and timing correction, and it's got Inca block, and it is just a good-looking movement with blued screws, also some polished screws, and some engine turning on the base plate. In other words, it's price appropriate. This one was an O serial, so that would have been 2012, if my memory serves right. Panerai serial numbers are alphanumeric and chronological, so they're great for collectors in that regard, and this watch is a full set. So reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.